It is probably the only institution with the necessary degree of autonomy to undertake charitable deeds, a ministry of love. It is one of the very few spaces of freedom that exist, if not the only one.
Cuba's economy, crippled by communist policies, is bankrupt. Although not officially sanctioned, with no effective welfare system, the Cuban regime is obliged to watch as the Catholic Church tries to respond to the immense poverty that prevails. One such instance is the care given by the Sisters of St. Vincent de Paul, who are exceptionally allowed to care for patients at Havana's St. Lazarus Hospital for lepers.
They work out of love, mercy, while other people do it for a wage. I mean, the way they think. However much they give, they do it because of what they bring to us and how they give.
The sisters would be unable to care for the lepers without assistance from the Western Church.
Aid to the Church in Need has helped us with a microbus, which the community uses to serve our patients when they are in need. It serves to bring bread for the meals we serve them, as well as to bring other things that we buy for them. And there is also the kitchen in our home, that was in a terrible state until it was repaired with the help of aid to the Church in Need.
Government restrictions on candidates to the religious life means that for a population of 12 million, there are only 500 Catholic nuns in Cuba. Time, therefore, is an enemy in their effort to reach Havana's most needy children.
Come to me. Tell her to come to me. There is no school this week? No. How did the tests go? It was okay. As you are not going to school this week, come to see me on Friday. We will see if I can give you some clothes.
A further aspect of the Church's social concerns relate to its work with the elderly. Effectively unable to survive on Cuba's meager state pension, the elderly seek care and solace in the church-run soup kitchens, such as this one in Camagüey. It feeds 70 to 100 people on a daily basis. Due to the embargo on church construction, this kitchen is run from the bishop's house. The most innocent and those likely to suffer most are Cuba's children. They remain a special concern of the Cuban Church, which surrounds them with special care.
We started with 3 children. Then the number began to grow. It reached 15 children, and today we care for 65 children. We teach them values, not only how they themselves should behave, but also other values. A lady psychologist works with me because you can see that many of the children have psychological problems, at times very serious psychological problems, for many are the offspring of prisoners. Other children come from women who became pregnant by men they would never see again. Such are fathers of these children. These truly are children of the streets.
Convent sisters are not the only ones who work with the children. Lay Catholics also play a unique role.
Here we have milk that we prepare over here in this pot. Mayonnaise for the bread. Good morning, come in, Andy. These are children with great problems whose parents are unable to buy them any food. Parents who find themselves in situations where they are unable to obtain the means to buy food.
Good Lord, give all people enough to eat, each according to their need, so that we can all thank you together. Thank you.
The Cuban government doesn't care about these children. There is no obligation to help the children because their parents don't work, so they don't help. Help only comes from here. They have no other.
Although the social services offered by the church are vital to the community, the church's ability to act is very limited due to the continuing embargo on its activities imposed by the regime. The only way the Cuban church can continue to offer care is by relying on international Catholic charities, such as Aid to the Church in Need. The repercussions of the government embargo extend across the full breadth of church life. Building permits to rebuild churches, own a car, or to buy cement are regularly denied, inevitably limiting the scope of any new development.
We can't build new chapels because the government refuses to give building permits to construct new chapels. Some towns had chapels, but lost them when they were converted to other uses, other institutions, medical, educational, even dance halls. There was no way of getting them returned, and no way of getting a permit to build again. We hope this will soon change.
Many churches were destroyed like this one in the village of Lombilo.
Umbilio is a special zone. The church here was destroyed at the beginning of the revolution, and the people have always said that ever since then they have been cursed.
The church here was closed. It was taken over by the state, and then the church was destroyed. The local community of Umbilo was also destroyed. So anew the people asked with faith for a new church, and with their own means they built this small thatched house with their own efforts.
In this area, almost all of the churches were in a very bad state. Some have been rebuilt, others have had new roofs put on, new benches installed, and so on. They are all up and running, though even when they had no roofs, we would nevertheless keep them open and gather inside.
The Church has practically no voice in any decision-making, even in matters relating to its own internal affairs. The state decides what the Church can and cannot do and when.
Es decir, el gobierno tira y afloja.
The government loosens the rules and then tightens them, issues a permit, but only after a long delay, and that creates difficulties. The bishopric has to be patient if it wants to develop its missionary work. Naturally, thanks to patience and perseverance, these difficulties are being overcome in some dioceses. We still have another 10 to 15 church rebuilding projects to complete nationally, which we are working on now.
The papal visit spurred an explosion in church attendance as well as in vocations. In Havana alone, there are approximately 80 students preparing for the priesthood. With regime restrictions limiting the number of aspirants, the training of future members of the clergy remains a most urgent concern. Again, the local church is in no position to carry the cost burden of training the eager candidates.
Unfortunately, there's no way that seminarians can provide for their keep, to feed themselves. We support them to the tune of $400 to $500 each, and so help to meet their needs, including studies, books, food and clothing. We also help with various building repairs, as well as by providing washing machines, because they don't have any. In fact, everything that is essential to ensure that all seminarians receive a complete and thorough training. That has, over the last 5 to 6 years, been the main thrust of our work in this country.
The bicycle is one of the few means of transport open to priests. The cycles at Havana's seminary were offered by aid to the church in need. Priests aren't allowed to own cars, though they cover many kilometers to reach distant parishes. Mule is often the only option in difficult terrain. Persecution of the church and policies of political indoctrination have wreaked havoc with the religious formation of a great number of faithful. With the ban on religious publications in place, the Cuban church needs to look to the universal church for the printing of religious materials. In 2002, Aid to the Church in Need supplied some 80,000 copies of the Old and New Testaments. In response to a recent request by the bishops, endorsed by the Vatican, Aid to the Church in Need offered the first Rosary Initiative.
Seeing that the Holy Father declared 2003 the year of the Rosary, we decided to respond within the scope of our activities by ordering rosaries. In fact, we decided to bring over 400,000 rosaries. That, together with the small accompanying brochure published by us, will surely help a great deal to inspire families to begin saying the Rosary. The brochure describes the mystery of the Rosary, what they mean and how to pray them. Hopefully, that will gradually help to evangelize Cuba and permit the church to grow in this country.
Así que agradecemos primero las oraciones.
We are thankful for the prayers of everyone, for our church and for our nation, and of course for the material help that they can offer us and that they can share with us, which is fundamental. Without these, none of those works which have been described could be continued, could be further maintained.
I think this one will be good for the elder one. Now let's see if we can find something for the younger girl, some kind of a jacket, for cold weather. Isn't it too small? No, it suits you well, very well for this year, but not for the next one. But for this year, yes. Now you are elegant.